game is like meeting Sophia Loren, Morgan Fairchild, Susan Sarandon. Well, you remember Arabesque, The Seduction, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And then you meet them and it's like, oh right, oh now she's 75 years old now. It's not quite Rocky Horror Picture Show anymore. That's what this is like. It's not quite Marble Madness anymore. It's Marble Madness and Klax for the Game Boy Advance. Of course, fairness to Susan Sarandon, that's how time works. And if we're being completely honest with each other, two things. One, I wouldn't care. It's still Susan Sarandon. And two, in this case, time is not the culprit. Marble Madness, much like Susan Sarandon, once had the best orbs in the business. Back in the day, no one looked better in their underwear than Susan Sarandon in Marble Madness. All right, I lost the analogy. The point is, I don't know. It's got to be in there somewhere. So, this is a cheap compilation of two classic arcade games together on a single Game Boy Advance cartridge. Although, I mean, 2 games, that's just barely a compilation. That's like the least you have to do to be a compilation. Nonetheless, there were actually a lot of these on the GBA, and most of them were pretty bad. This one's worse. What you have here is an okay version of Klax, and the worst version of Marble Madness ever made. This is a game about physics with totally broken physics. It's like covering up Susan Sarandon in Pretty Baby. Defeats the whole purpose! I'm gonna find it. I know I had a point there. So, speaking of Marble Madness, you won't find many games we treasure more than Marble Madness here at Classic Game Room. Watch my review of the NES version to hear exactly how much we treasure it, but suffice to say, we treasure Marble Madness. But then something like this happens, and we go f***ing ballistic. I've never seen people so angry around here. So when I popped in this sacrilegious little shit sandwich, it's like they took Marble Madness and just broke it, which in turn broke our hearts. So, thanks a lot, jerks. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. Like I said, the physics are so unpredictable, the game's barely even playable, but then you find out, oh, there's only 3 levels, so, they just cut the game in half, which I was gonna get pissed about, until I realized, wait, that's actually the first good thing about this game. Let's just get it over with. It's like someone at a meeting said, I think, maybe, we should only do half of it, because we did such a f***ing terrible job on the first half. Like, they didn't even include the wave machine. The wave machine doesn't wave. What happened at the wave machine meeting? That's what I want to know. But, fortunately, Klax is much better. In fact, you should think of this as just a GBA version of Klax, because that's all it really is. And to have Klax in a portable form, well, that's actually cool. But then again, even Klax has its problems, specifically control problems. More specifically, it's easy to overrun your spot and go past the column where you meant to stop. So there's a little imprecision here, and that can be frustrating to deal with. Of course, on the other hand, at least in terms of the presentation, everything's in order. So even if they don't play like they should, the games at least look and sound like they should. I suppose 10 years ago, this would have been a slightly less pointless thing to have. I mean, the ability to play Klax on the go, that made this compilation worth something. Marble Madness takes that value and flushes it down the toilet, which is fitting because this version poops on a classic. I mean, I guess collectors might have interest, but unless you have to have this, there's no reason to have Marble Madness and Klax for the Game Boy Advance. These marbles they're starting to get saggy.
Diagonal wave.